So my name's Dan Evans, Dr. Dan Evans. I am a lecturer in soil science at Cranfield University. I'm based within the School of Water, Energy and Environment. My whole research is focused on how soils form. I'm interested in exploring how soils are generated, why they're generated, where they're generated, and more importantly, how fast they're generating. And this is really important because we're losing soils faster than they're forming. So if we can accelerate the rates at which they form, it means we can continue to support the soils and their delivery in ecosystem goods and services.
Very exciting research, Dan. So let's tuck into our first question. In your view, what is the most exciting discovery or development that has emerged from the soils research community in the last 10 years?
Well, I think one of the really exciting developments in soil science is how we visualize soils. It might seem a really obvious point because, of course, everyone can see soils. But in the last 10 years, down the corridors of soil science, we've really explored new technologies. In one side of that corridor, you may find some of us looking at remote sensing satellite developments, using satellites to see soils at a global scale, scales that we've not really seen before. And on the other side of that corridor, you might find some of us looking down really high technicolor microscopes. And those microscopes are able to look into the real structural properties of a soil. And both the global and the microscopic scales allow us to understand how soils behave, how they respond to mismanagement, how they respond to climate, how they're changing, and that gives us information about how we can protect soils in the future.
Wow, so from the micro to the macro scale, how exciting.
Absolutely.
So I suppose, what are the biggest challenges for researchers today in your field, for example, in terms of funding or dissemination of research, perhaps working and collaborating with farmers?
Yeah, one of the challenges that we face as soil scientists is getting the message out there. Now, obviously, soil scientists have been trying to communicate the wonderful world that is soil for centuries now. But we have a really important job to do in this moment because now the world is listening. Policymakers nationally and globally are listening to soil scientists because there's an increasing recognition about how soils can really help us, can produce ecosystem goods and services, can combat climate change. So it's, in a sense, for us, not about how much we communicate or what we communicate. It's getting people inspired about soil, getting people to listen about soil. And one of the ways in which we can do that is talking to the people who work with soils every day. And that includes, obviously, the farmers and the landowners, the land managers who tend to the earth, whilst we're, as scientists, in our laboratories and at our field stations, trying to understand the minutiae of the soil environment.
So communications is a huge element of the research that you do.
It is, definitely.
So what is your priority research area for the next 10 years ahead, and why is that?
Well, soil scientists have tended to be the rehabilitators in the past. If we use a hospital analogy, most of those soil science pieces of work have been in the surgery end, trying to combat degraded soils, trying to restore soils which have been eroded, compacted or polluted. I'm in the maternity unit in that hospital. I'm interested in how soils form. I'm interested in what makes a parent material, as we call them, turn or transform into a soil which is healthy and productive and provide goods and services. And it's that understanding which allows us to go into city parks, for instance, and recreate healthy soils for those environments, but also to the degraded and desertified regions of the world, where we can really transform how those environments work for the ecosystems and the societies that live in them.
Wow, really exciting again, and what a great analogy to think of soils as, different hospitals and how that works. I think it's a great analogy. And finally, for the long-term future, what is your vision of the future for your research and its impact?
I think we have a real mission on our hands as soil scientists now. I and my colleagues around the world in soil science need to inform and educate the next generation. I'm really proud here at Cranfield to be launching a new soil science apprenticeship, and it's that kind of initiative that will help upskill the next generation, not just in the knowledge, but in the skills, in those practical hands-on techniques of managing and caring for soils. That's how we can really use our research in soil science to create real positive and powerful impact across the world.
Fantastic. Thank you very much, Dan, for your contribution to our Back to the Future project.
Thank you.